Welcome to Sexy Soulful Success, the podcast for women leaders who are ready to transition from exhausted hustle to enlivened flow in their businesses and beyond. I'm your host, Emily Castle, leadership and business coach for ambitious, high-achieving women entrepreneurs. We will be hearing real behind-the-scenes stories, inspiring words of wisdom, and actionable strategies from women who are creating their empires with sexy confidence, soulful alignment, and an abundant mindset for success. You'll also hear shorter solo episodes from me to help you launch, grow, and scale your business by working smarter, not harder. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to listen in as I coach real women leaders from our community about challenges and burning questions in their businesses. My mission is to help you walk away feeling more confident in your own journey, free to embrace and express your innate feminine wisdom in all you do, ready to deliver your unique contribution to the world, and inspired to take the necessary action to grow your impact and income through your business. Let's dive into today's episode. Today's guest is Taylor Lou Dixon. Taylor helps women to create amazing businesses and passion projects and side hustles as an integral part of their higher purpose. With that, her work facilitates a deep inner joy and confidence that comes from truly loving yourself, from truly living and experience all the bliss, passion, and freedom that life has to offer. Thank you for joining me today, love.
I am so excited, Emily. I've listened to your podcast for a while, and we've also known each other personally for a while, so I just couldn't be more excited to be here today.
Same. I'm so excited to have you, and it was so fun to get to spend some in-person time together when we were both in New York for the Create and Cultivate conference back in, what was that, May? It feels like
oh my gosh,
2 seconds
feels
ago.
like it feels like yesterday, but I guess it was a few months ago.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah. So, one of the first questions I always ask my guests on the show is, what does sexy, soulful success mean to you?
It's such an I love that you asked this question, because I think it's really alluding to the fact that there's so many dimensions and aspects of success. So I think first and foremost, it's saying that there's so much more to success than the traditional masculinized version that we've come to know in our society, especially in America. Mm-hmm. So I love that it has the multiple dimensions. And then I feel like personally, I'm in a space right now where I'm really leaning into the sexy side of that. Maybe for the first time in my brand. And that feels really exciting and really understanding how you can make business feel sensual. And I love how you talk about this, and there's just not a ton of people talking about what that actually looks like and feels like. But so yeah, that's what really speaks to me when you say that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that idea of making business sensual and, making it pleasure filled as well,
right?
Because that's not the narrative that we hear most of the time in most of the conversations, which is why I started this podcast in the first place.
Yep. Yeah. It's really cool to put that lens on your success in business and just the entrepreneurial path, and understanding that it doesn't have to be this hitting your head against a wall, trying to make things work. Like you can really flow through it and have a lot of pleasure along that journey.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I love the work that you do and your brand and your work, because I feel like you really embody that. And there's so much flow and so much, I just feel like you've really this is not the right word or term, but this is what's coming up right now. Like, it almost feels like you've blown up. Like the business is like, you started as this little seed and then it was like, boom, really quickly.
Yes.
In your current business. So I would love for you to share a little bit, for me and for everyone listening, because you and I have connected in different times of our lives. And so I would love to know from you, what has been your business journey to getting to this current business and brand? Because I know that it hasn't always been this way for you. And I think you had another business before this. And so tell us a little bit about your journey in getting here.
Yeah, so I did have a business before this. I started my first business when I was 21. I was right out of school. Felt very bold and also had some rose-colored glasses on when it came to business, which is actually a blessing looking back on that. But I started a social media agency when I was 21. And I lived at home with my parents for a while, where when I was just trying to figure out how to put that together, and it felt so overwhelming at the time. Like there's a part of me that was so excited, and I loved branding and I loved social media, and I had like 6 internships in college all about that. And so when I got out of school, I asked myself, how can I leverage this skill that I've spent so much time um, really owning in on during my college experience? And my dad was the first one who asked me to come help him with his social media at his company. And it kind of sparked that light bulb moment of, I bet there are a lot of small to medium-sized businesses who are not looking to hire a full-time employee, but also maybe can't afford like a larger agency. There was kind of this gap at the time. And so I just like went in guns a-blazing, and it took me about 2 years to really feel like I was making like a sustainable income, really feeling confident about my services and how I was getting clients and all that good stuff. So that was such a growth time in my life, and just trying to navigate who I was as a young adult on top of who I was as a business owner. I mean, it was just crazy. Looking back, I'm like, I was crazy, but in the best of ways.
Yes.
And then that third year of that business, I started really finding my groove. And I was making great money as a young person. I was traveling, I was living that laptop lifestyle. And then I reached this point where I realized that I had no heart connection to what I was doing whatsoever. I just really didn't give a shit.
Mm.
And it was hard realization, because I had been working so hard for years to make this sustainable for myself. And I didn't really know where to go next with it. Long story short, I'll condense all of this down, but I met some key influential people who were in the coaching industry. And I realized that I had been pretty much prepared and groomed my entire life to be a coach. Like it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, this is it. Everything makes sense. Everything that I've ever been interested in or pursued or had an experience with, it's all leading me here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was about 2 years ago. I guess it was, yeah, literally 2 years ago. And since then, it's been really wild. Like you said, I feel like my business really blew up overnight. And I feel like a big reason behind that is I'd already had experience as an entrepreneur. So I wasn't going in blind like I was during the start of my first business. But B, like I've just never felt so lit up about anything. And it was just like, I was so clear on the vision. I was so clear on my purpose within that I just really shamelessly put myself out there. And it's almost like I already had the codes within me. And I just had to learn how to sit with myself and let those come out. And then I was also going on an aggressive personal development journey simultaneously, which I think really, I mean, I attribute all of my success to that, honestly. The behind the scenes personal development, really getting to know myself on a deep personal level, and which helped me be in alignment in my business, which helped me get financial results in my business as well.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yes. And I can totally relate to what you're saying as someone who also started a business very young, almost right out of college. It's like we are growing the business, but the business is also growing us, and we're
Oh
growing
my
up
gosh.
with our
Yes.
businesses as well.
Yes.
So it's a very weird, cool relationship that happens, I find.
Absolutely.
And so for me, this business that I'm still in is like, I started as a life coach, but then I really transitioned from life coach to, oh, wait, I'm really more of a business coach, and like leadership is
Mm.
what I'm passionate about. So in a sense, it almost feels like I've had two businesses, even though they're in the same industry, like same umbrella. It's still like, I sometimes forget that actually those are two separate things
Definitely.
in a
I
sense,
mean, yeah, I mean, you're selling something completely different and
Yeah.
you're serving different kinds of people. So yeah, I definitely, and I feel like the same for me as well. I
Mhm.
still do a lot of social media consulting and teaching and branding
Mhm.
now
Right.
in my current business, but it's it's such a different approach. Oh my God,
Mhm.
so different.
What do you think is so different about it from the work that you were doing, the way in which you were doing that social media work and branding and things for people, and how you're teaching it now?
So in my agency, it was very much a done for you service.
Mhm.
So, and we were working with, small to medium sized companies. A lot of the business owners were in their 50s or 60s.
Mm.
And so it was a very cut and dry approach. Also, just the social media marketing landscape was so different back then.
Mhm.
This was like 6 years ago. So just the ways of doing things in with social media was very different. And so it was a lot of like content planning. We'd like plan out for the month and just like so. And then like, for example, one of our clients was franchise Chick-fil-A restaurants. And so we were pretty much just copy and pasting a lot of the content from corporate. They
Mm.
have very strict rules about the way that they protect their brand, which is totally makes sense. But it was just so dry. I think that's the best word to describe it. And now I get to work with individuals to create their personal brand based on who they are and what their interests and passions are, and then help them create an audience based on that.
Mhm.
So it's definitely more of I work with people who want to be in some way, shape, or form influencers or thought leaders. And so that's very different than, let's say, a business who is like an art gallery.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. There's definitely a different approach there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I get to talk about so much fun stuff now. I'm like,
Mm.
how do we capture your essence in this
Yes.
brand photo shoot?
So much more fun.
Yes. Oh, I love it so much.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing now and who you serve, and how you kind of came to that realization that those were your people and all that good fun stuff that we have to go through as we build a business and a brand.
Yes. So my shtick for a long time, I guess for a long time, for 2 years, has been serving multi-passionate millennial women. So that's been the group that I've been focused on and still am continuing to focus on, because I think it's this group of really eager visionaries who don't quite know how to harness their special genius
Mhm.
into a business or a brand. And they like they have the drive and they have all of the ideas,
Mhm.
but oftentimes lack the focus or the tools on how to actually make that um, monetize that.
Mhm.
So that's been the group of people that I've loved working with. Um, and now, so I've been in a space of like really focusing on the business development, the lifestyle design, the branding, and a lot of the personal development as well. But now I'm actually in a phase of transition which feels really interesting. Like I was sharing with you before our call, like I'm not even sure what my bio is right now, which is kind of cool because I've been able to just rattle off my elevator pitch for years.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, ooh, what am I doing? Like, who am I serving? And I'm kind of, in some ways, it feels like I'm starting from square one. And then other ways, like I've built the audience, which is great, which means I don't actually have to start from square one. But I'm in a place where I'm wanting to go deeper into the personal development tools. I'm actually a master NLP practitioner, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnotherapist. And I've invested a lot of time and money into really figuring out how do we do the deep transformational work that will then naturally just affect everything in someone's business. Because what was happening is I was either getting into private coaching relationships with people or in my group coaching, and I was seeing so much self-sabotage happening. And we would create this amazing plan, all this strategy, and people would just sabotage themselves left and right. And it was really hard to watch, and I like couldn't understand like what was going on. And then I realized the reason why I didn't deal with as much self-sabotage is because I am so devoted to personal development. The biggest thing that I do on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis is personal development. And I didn't really realize to the full extent that, and I mentioned this briefly earlier, but I didn't realize to the full extent that that is actually what I have to thank for my success. Because that is what has created the focus. That is what has created the ability to both create a vision and execute. Because a lot of people are stuck in one place or another. They have all the dreams and the ideas, but then when it comes to executing, they just shut down. Or they're wanting to just like execute and be really masculine in the way that they're approaching things, and they're missing out on all the juicy visioning and dreaming.
Right.
And so I got my first foray into that teaching was, and I know you talk about this a lot too, understanding how the masculine and the feminine can dance together. And so that was a really fun space to be exploring and teaching. And now I'm realizing actually even deeper down than that, our subconscious minds are holding the codes to everything. And so if we have this shitty programming that's running the show, and oftentimes we're completely unaware of what's going on down there, then it's really difficult to see sustainable success in your business, and you have to fight for it. But when you can actually get down on this subconscious level and understand what are the codes around things like worthiness and being seen, and our relationship with fear or our relationship with confusion, if we can get down to that level and take a look at that, then, and really fix like the core wounding that's causing these symptoms like not wanting to post on social media, not wanting to show up on social media. That was something that I was seeing all the time from my clients. And I would try things like help them create like a system for creating content and posting content and holding themselves accountable. But now with the work that I'm doing, what I'm doing first is getting down on that subconscious level and saying, okay, what are the codes here around being seen? Doing the work there, and then people are having these incredible quantum shifts where they feel like they're just a different person. They feel excited and effortless to get on Instagram Live or to do a launch in their business. And it just all becomes a natural extension of kind of repairing those deep core codes on how you show up in the world.
Mm. I love that. What has been your experience with NLP? Like, how has it helped you personally? And what what have you found was sort of like holding you back in one way or another through that work?
So it was about a year and a half ago. Yeah, it was a year and a half ago when I got my practitioner certification.
Mhm.
And I got certified in a few different modalities all at the same time. NLP was one of them. And at first, it's a little bit overwhelming, to be honest. Like, it's like, what is this? This seems like so out there. But I also appreciated the like tangible, practical nature of the tools within NLP. So it's both, there's a lot of concept within the modality mixed with practical tools and techniques.
Mhm.
So it was just, it kind of blew my mind open of, okay, here's something really, really tangible that we can use to communicate with your subconscious mind. And then a lot of the conceptual ideology is around modeling success. And so combined with those two things, I was like, whoa, this is just really, really powerful. And during training, you get to practice the techniques on each other.
Mhm.
And so when I actually experienced for myself the power of this modality, I was like, whoa, this is something that I really want to bring very predominantly into my work, because I was noticing these crazy, inexplicable shifts within myself. And then when I got my master certification, which was about 3-ish weeks ago now, it was like a whole new level of all of that information sinking in and clicking. And then you're there for like 2.5 weeks. And so we're practicing on each other for 2.5 weeks. And I'm not kidding you, I left a completely different person. And I know we were talking about this before we started recording as well, but I'm pretty much changing like everything in my business right now. And it's because of doing that work on the subconscious level. I had a lot of money blocks. I had a lot of beliefs that charging a lot of money is out of integrity.
Mm.
Like at some point, and a lot of money is relative. You know, I've been doing well in my business. I've been abundant in my business for a while, but really getting to that next level of my expertise and how I am, like my business model and how I'm creating that. And what I realized is that there was a deep subconscious belief that charging a lot of money was out of integrity. And so I had to go in using NLP tools and figure out, okay, how do I reprogram that to understand like what is in integrity and what does money really mean to me and what are the codes that I have there. So that was really powerful. And then I did a lot of stuff around like not feeling like I need to prove myself through my business, which I know is just a common struggle for business owners, feeling like they're really connecting their self-worth to their business results. And I felt like I realized, which I hadn't known, that a lot of what I was doing in my business was coming from a place of feeling like I needed to prove something to the
Mm.
world, proving my worth. Look at me. Look how great I am. I have all of these things. And when I went down on the subconscious level, all of that came out into the light. And I
Mhm.
was like, whoa, I do not want to run a business from this place.
Mhm.
And now I'm being so intentional now around how do I create things based on that like true, authentic alignment and not from a place of proving.
Mm. Beautiful.
So NLP has
Yes.
been a big game changer for me. I mean, it's a way to reveal that deeper level stuff that's going on. Because
Mhm.
otherwise it's real. I mean, you can journal about it, you can get coached on things, but a lot of times like the deep sneaky ones, like the deep seated ones that really don't want to be released because they think that they're protecting you, they really hold on for dear life. So things like NLP and hypnotherapy can help bring these to light. And it's like shocking what's there. And then everything makes sense. You just put the puzzle pieces together. You're like, oh, that's been affecting X, Y, and Z. That's why I haven't been doing X, Y, and Z. That's why these self-sabotaging patterns are coming up. And now in my work, if someone comes to me and they're like, oh, I'm struggling with creating routine, like the first thing that we're going to do is not do some time blocking exercise around like scheduling. Those are great tools to do after the deep work of figuring out, okay, what are the beliefs that you hold around routine?
Right.
Let's do that first. And then let's talk about creating a strategy for you that feels like really aligned so that you can actually show up for it.
Yes. So I know after we chatted a bit after you got back from your NLP training, your recent master training, and you were telling me about how you did this like totally out of character, so to speak, launch, like a launch like you have not done before, and made 15K in 1 week doing it. Tell us more about that, because I want to celebrate that with you, and also I want to hear about it because it's awesome.
Yes, this was such a surreal experience, honestly. I was in my NLP training and been doing all of this work. I felt like I was just being totally broken open, felt so raw, so vulnerable. Like all this stuff around self-worth was coming up. And I ended up going to a breathwork workshop. And it was like a 2-hour long workshop. And I dabbled in breathwork before, but this was my first opportunity to like do a full experience. And during that breathwork workshop, it was probably like 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden I had immediate and precise clarity on exactly everything that needed to change in my business to be more in alignment, and exactly what I wanted to be creating from then on. Like, it was so wild. It just like, I had this image in my mind of like exactly what was coming next for me that would just make me feel so excited, and that other people would really serve my audience. And it was just, I started like laughing during, I probably looked like a crazy person. I mean, everyone kind of looks like a crazy person during breath work, but I just was so clear and like excited. And I just felt so full of just pure source energy. And I went back to my Airbnb and I created 2 new offerings that were my Quantum Leap private retreats and my virtual breakthrough days. And it just poured out of me. And the day after, I wrote a song for my entire group in my NLP training. This song just like poured out of me also, just like my business vision. So it was just, I was feeling so tapped in, tuned in, turned on, all the things. And I created a little like sales page and for the new services, and I posted about it on Instagram, and I offered a beta pricing and ended up selling out within the week of these new services, generating over 15K in revenue in 1 week, while also going to class all day. All day, being in class all day, then coming home and like talking about my new vision and what I was doing on Instagram stories. And I think I posted on like my Instagram feed as well, and maybe like one post on Facebook. And no sales calls, which I'd never not done sales calls before. I would just voice message with people on Instagram and sold out.
Wow.
And there was so just to give listeners context, I have really mastered the masculine launch process, and I've been launching my signature group program and my self-study program and masterminds and things pretty much using the same system for 2 years. And that's a system that I teach people. And it's about like it's a 2-month, 45-day process. And there's a lot of strategy behind it. There's a lot of just like masculine elements, which served me really well. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And I will do that system again. It's a really awesome system. But for this particular time, I was just feeling really inspired to totally shake things up and just kind of see what else was possible. But again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, I think a big reason why it was successful was because the first thing that I did was that raw, real, honest personal development work on the subconscious level. Like that's really what came first. And then because of that, I was just massively clear and inspired and took inspired action from that place. And then because it was so in alignment, I think my audience really like felt that from me and they wanted to be a part of it.
That's so
And
amazing.
and I also had created an offer with my private retreats that just a lot of people are craving this right now. And Emily, I know that you do a lot of in-person stuff, a lot of workshops, a lot of retreats. And I love that you do that because I had mostly been online up until this point, and I've done 2 private retreats back to back in the last 2 weeks, which has been awesome. But that's really for me, that's where I feel like the power is and what people are really craving. They don't want to be on Zoom calls anymore. They don't want to be going through e-courses and self-study content. And there's a time and a place for all of that. But people want to be in person with one another. And for me, like I've done several group retreats, but I'm feeling really called right now to do private, just one-on-one experiences where I get to pull out all of my favorite kind of alternative tools and really create the space for one person. And they've been so magical. Like it's actually blowing my own mind. Like I knew that this was going to be awesome because it was a direct download from source, but actually putting it into practice and seeing the kinds of results that are coming from it, I'm shocked. Like I'm shocked in the best of ways. People are really been able to upgrade, create new neural pathways, get supreme clarity on what they're wanting to do in 2 days.
That's amazing.
Like it's like the same results that most people are getting from working with a coach for like 3 months in 2 or 3 days. And it's amazing. So cool. It's so cool.
Amazing. Oh, it's so good to chat with you. I feel so energized by all that you're doing and just so happy for you and so excited that you're finding deeper alignment with your work and with why you're here, and you're serving amazing women and you're doing work that feels good and in alignment and all these juicy good things. So yay.
Thank you. I love your support and I love just everything that you do. And I truly feel connected to you in the way that I think we're both here for the long haul. And we're both very dedicated and devoted to helping, like really helping people. And I think that shines through in the work that you do. And it's just really refreshing, I think, because you don't get that feeling from everyone in this industry, unfortunately.
So true. It's so true. And it's harder when you know that and you're in the industry and you are also like, okay, and what mastermind am I going to join next year? And what coach am I going to work with? Like, I know that there is so much out there that isn't going to meet me where I am and like isn't about what I want it to be about, you know?
Right.
So that gets challenging too.
Yeah. And it's all a journey, and everyone is on their journey of just just exploring like these big questions of
Mm-hmm.
what is authenticity to me? And that's always changing. I think it's such a buzzword in our industry, but for me, like I want to work with people who are committed to the authenticity. That doesn't mean that they're perfect in that or like know
Right.
exactly what that means for them, but they are consciously committed to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's important to me. And just I love when I see people's journey unfold and have people be really transparent about that. I mean, that's something that I'm committed to as well. Like right now, when I'm posting on social media, I'm being very honest. Like I am in transition. I don't know exactly what this means, but I'm figuring it out and just trying to really show a lot of behind the scenes of the transformation and the transition that's happening, because I think when I see people doing that, I feel so inspired and I feel like I'm learning secondhand through
Right.
what they're experiencing.
Totally. I agree. I love your posts on Instagram also.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So if people are interested, if ladies listening would like to get in touch with you, learn more about you, follow you on Instagram, all that good stuff, watch your rebrand happen, where would you
Yes.
like them to find
Yes.
you or connect with you?
Honestly, the best place is Instagram. Taylor Lou Coaching is my Instagram handle. I would love to connect with you on there and just kind of share our experience with one another. I mean, that's something that gets me really excited, is meeting new women who are on this path, learning from one another, cheering each other on, supporting one another. So I'd say, yeah, reach out to me there, talk to me there. I would love to hear from you.
Beautiful. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for this conversation, your beautiful sharing from such an open-hearted place. So generous of you to share your journey with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Emily.
Of course.
Hello, sister, and thank you so much for being part of this amazing tribe of world-changing women and for listening to the Sexy Soulful Success podcast. I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. And I want to invite you to come on over to emilycastle.com/bundle, BUNDLE, to grab my free Soulful Success bundle with 7 of my most powerful tools for creating the impactful and abundant, soul-aligned life and business that you're here to create. I know how hard it can be to clearly and confidently communicate your message and mission to your audience, to take consistent, inspired action toward your goals, to deeply connect with your vision for success, and to do it all in a way that won't burn you out, but instead feels enlivening instead of exhausting. So I want to gift you this free bundle of my top resources that I've been using in my own life and business, as well as with my clients for the past 4 years, that have created exceptional success in record speed. So head on over to emilycastle.com/bundle to grab it right now. And I'd also like to ask a little favor. So in order for this podcast community to grow and for it to reach the eyes and ears of more women who need to hear it, we need reviews, and we need it to show up in their Instagram and Facebook feeds so that they can know about it and be aware and join us in trailblazing a new path for women leaders and entrepreneurs. So I would love to ask if you could head on over to emilycastle.com/podcast to leave a review. There's a button right at the top of the page, as well as all the latest episodes of the show, so you can listen in and share from there. And I would so appreciate your love and support with this. I have big plans and visions for the podcast this year, and I would love your help in making them a reality and being able to reach more women, to share the podcast, share the mission, but also to give more resources out and tools for women to gather in their own communities in real life and take the mission of this podcast offline as well and be in real conversation and connection and community together. So every week I'll be doing an iTunes review of the week on the podcast, and I would love to share your voice with the listening audience and share your name. So thank you so much for being part of this podcast, this movement, and this sisterhood. Together we can and are changing the world, starting with our own, shining our light even more brightly so that we can illuminate the way for others. Keep going on your path, trust in your journey, and remember you aren't meant to do this alone. I see you. I love you. We've got this. I'll see you next time, sister.